hello, hey. Oh man, God, it's 2024. I still don't know how to start a podcast. I've been doing this for well over a decade. Welcome to another glorious episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. I am Jeff May. I'm the one with the cool friends. Thank you so much for joining me. This is our first official episode of 2024, and I'm so excited to bring one of my very favorite people, one of the people that I am so undeniably impressed by that I get like frustrated when I think about it. The absolutely fantastic performer, and I'm going to just say performer because there's so many parts of the multi hyphenate that we're going to be talking about here. Kat LaCohie, aka Vixen DeVille. Kat, how you doing?
I am one of the cool friends. I
You
love it.
are you are a cool friend. You're one of the coolest friends, if we're
Oh,
being
good. Oh,
you
good.
Kat, you are I said aka Vixen DeVille, I believe, when I introduced you. And that really does tie back to how we met. We met through the burlesque group, the Dollface Dames.
Yep.
I was one of the comedians, and you were, I think at the time you were hosting
Yeah,
the
I was I
first
think
time.
I think I saw you mostly at Britannia, which was like this tiny, tiny, tiny little tiny venue, and the stage was like the size of your kitchen table. And I was hosting the show, and you would usually like open the show. We would usually have a comedian to open the show or do like the open it up after the intermissions and
Yeah,
things.
yeah, we were the ones that were like, "All right, everybody, here's something unimportant before women
Stop
start
watching
taking
the
their clothes
sport.
off." Yeah.
Stop watching football. Come look at some women take their clothes off for the love of God. Stop looking at the television. Look over here. That's
It
what we did.
it really was sort of throwing the comedians to the wolves now that I think about it, where it was like I thought it was like, "Oh, they're given opportunities that make sense." But the more I think about it, it's like, "Oh, no, no, they need us to eat. They need us to absolutely deal with it and be the ones to hop on the grenade of people that got their sports turned off."
Well, it was so difficult because it wasn't even, it was a free show. So people hadn't paid to be there. People, it was really near the beach. So people like were walking off the beach, like having had a day, walking past, going, oh, there's a British pub. Let's go in there and maybe watch some sport and maybe talk with my friends. And then out of nowhere, it's like, hey guys, pop-up show, it's burlesque. I know you didn't know this is gonna happen. And it was almost like half the audience were like annoyed.
Yeah, because it was also a Philad like, the show was on Mondays, and it was a Philadelphia Eagles bar, so, like, there were a few times that it conflicted with Monday Night Football, which was real fun. But you were hosting, and the thing that happened to me when I met first off, I was like, "Oh, this is a super hot British chick that's hosting, that's very fun, she's very clever." And then you were the most clever person I'd seen, and I was like, "Well, you."
Oh, you're being
I was like,
fucking
"She's
funny.
funnier than the comedians." That's very frustrating. I was like, you were like just a fantastic host, and I was like, lady, damn it, like don't be funnier than me. But then you finished the night by walking on broken
But
glass to the song "Walking on Broken Glass," and I was like, this is too much. She's doing too much.
yeah.
She's got too many
She's making the rest
talents.
of us look bad. She's overachieving. She's just pull it back, rein it in.
You
I think I have an easier time of being funny in that show or in burlesque shows in general and as a host because I don't think people necessarily expect the host to be funny. And also I've already built up a character and a concept. I'm there in my glittery burlesque and, people are like, "Oh, yeah, come on, it's some," but like you say, it's some hot chick just hosting the show. So, I can more easily be funny because people, I think, are not expecting it, rather than, "Oh, I'm at a comedy show. Okay, you've got 5 minutes. Impress me. Go on
I
then."
I feel like you might be bringing down your skill to that,
Okay,
where
well,
you're like, where you're just like, "No, I
I just wanna make you feel
surprised them
better.
with being kind of funny." I'm like, "No, no, no, I watched." I watched.
Okay, no, I wouldn't.
It was, like, super funny. So you're just like you were like a British chick in a corset being very funny and, like, burlesque makeup, which is, like, such an exaggerated form of makeup too that, it was just like and then you were like, "And now I'm gonna walk on broken glass while I take off my clothes." And to me, it was, like, beautiful and frustrating because I was like, "How many hours do you have in a day?" Because I feel like we have the same amount of hours in a day, but the
Yeah.
amount of stuff that you have gotten done seems like you have extra, like real
I
Hermione Granger energy.
just like Beyonce, we're all like Beyonce, we all have the same amount of hours. I think I just started earlier. Like I've been on stages since 10 years old. Like
Really?
I joined a youth theater when I was 9 or 10 years old. I don't know. I can't remember last time I've even said this story, but when I was like 7 or 8, I got in my head that I wanted to be an actor. And I ended up doing this. I got a group of friends, was like, let's put on a play at like recess or something. And we rehearsed this like the Little Mermaid, and I was gonna be Ursula the Sea Witch, which is blatantly Vixen DeVille, and we put this play on,
Ursula
like
straight on.
right? Obviously, these are my tropes, and, we just, like, messed around and, like, played around with doing this play, and then finally our teacher's like, "Well, when you ever gonna do this? Like, actually, like, show it to the rest of us," and I was like, I don't know," and we did it, and then after that, I was
You're
like, "Oh,
like,
I
the
really wanna."
reviews were awful.
The
The
movies are
papers
awful.
the
I mean,
papers ripped us apart.
but I really loved doing it, and I just thought I want to do more of this. So I got like a couple of the other girls who were in that group of us to go to this like youth theater thing, and then none of them really continued going, and I continued going, and then just from that, like people would recommend other things, and it was a really nice. That youth theater was devising and creating stuff. It wasn't here's a script, let's analyze the script and then put the play on. It was theater games and devising games, and like it was kind of like let's do some comedy, let's do some like physical stuff. And then when I was like 14 or 15, I joined another theater that was here's a theater, here's a script, learn the script, put on the play. And from that I was recommended this other place when I was like 16 or 17 that was like an actual like theater that hired actors on a long-term basis, and I got put into one of their shows, which at the age of 16 was when I was like, "Oh, people do this as an actual living." Like, I was at the time of filling in applications for college and stuff, and I was all like, "Oh," because I was super academic and getting all the A's and shit and super unpopular at
Of
school,
course
you
you
know
were.
me.
Of
Of course
course
I
you were.
was,
Yeah,
before I got
you
into
couldn't have also just been a C
salon.
student. You were like, "Also, I was overachieving in school,"
Yeah, exactly.
which
Uh
again, you.
Overachieve. So I was like applying for. I didn't trust that I could do everything was just acting. Like at yeah, at not college, but the thing before you go to college in England, I was doing a mixture of like,
Wait, what's the thing you do before college in England?
oh, so you do like high school from grade 7 to like, well, until 10, grade 10. So you're like 10 until you're
How
15,
old? Let's
16.
do
Yeah, let's do that.
ages.
So from 10 until 16. At 16, you can legally leave school and go and get a job if you want to. And
Mhm.
you do your GCSEs, which is your General Certificate of Standard Education. And I think it's probably changed since then because I'm so old. So at 16, you can leave school, and the standard is that you have 9 GCSEs at grade C or above, and then you can go and function and be a human.
Mhm.
Then you can go. Some high schools have their extra 2 years where you're 18 or
Mhm.
whatever it is, or you can go to a sixth form college. And it's not college, it's just a sixth form college, and that's where you do your A levels before you go to university, which is what you guys would call college. So there's a this little bit in between
Man,
where it's like
it
you're.
seems
Yeah.
it seems unnecessarily complicated.
What was great about it is that you could get to leave high school at 16
That's
and
great.
go to another place, reinvent yourself, like, you're not wearing I
Or
mean,
not go back.
or not go back. You could go and get, like, a trade, you could go and do something more, like, hands-on, like mechanics or, like, pottery or fucking electrical, like, if
Can
you
you just
hate
can you just be done at
you can be
16 and
done.
just be like, "I'm gonna do
Absolutely.
nothing"?
You
That
just
seems
go
like
and
a
you
bad idea. I don't know if you've talked to a 16-year-old, but they're really stupid.
Oh, they are
Um,
really stupid.
I'd be like, "Do not trust them. Do not trust them to deal with that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so there's going to be a lot of time hopping here in our conversations because obviously I can't necessarily go all the way laterally through your timeline. I'm
God,
going
no.
to, but
Please
we're going to
don't.
be it's going to be very back and forth. But so because there's stuff that you did in between, a lot of stuff that you've done in between the schooling aspect and then where
Yeah.
you are now, which is, you are an American citizen now, right?
Yeah.
You
I'm
are.
dual. I have both. Wherever the zombies attack, I can go to the other place.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. Aren't you the zombies attacking? Is
Well, I
it
guess it wouldn't matter
true?
then because then it'll be free for all.
Yeah. Is it true that you're in Shaun of the Dead?
I am in shock. I totally
It
forgot
seems
about
like
that.
you forgot you were in Shaun of
I
the Dead.
forget. I'm getting to the point now where I forget chunks of life exist. Like, I'll forget that I lived in London for 12 years, or I'll forget that, oh, yeah. I
You
was in
do you
shock
not
that
hear yourself talk? Like, that would be a good way to remember that you lived in London.
I know, yes, well, yes. So, I I was obsessed with their TV show Spaced,
Mhm.
and my brother had bought it for me on, like, VHS, because that's how far back we're going. And that it was before like Facebook, and there was like a forum online that my friend joined where you could talk to other spaced fans and all this kind of stuff, which is
A
insane.
message board, yeah.
A message board, yeah. And then, oh my God, what? Yeah. So then they post on this message board that they were auditioning for zombies for their new feature film, Shaun of the Dead. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll go to this like, open casting zombie thing. So I go with my friends and they make you like walk across the room as a zombie and shit like that. And it's like, what am I even doing? And I got
You
an
could've
email
just done
from,
the Thriller dance.
yeah, it's just like, this is me being a zombie, blah. And so I got an email from the casting assistant, and it was like, so sorry. We're like inundated with things. I haven't even slept. I'm basically sleeping in the office, but we'll be getting back to you very soon. Da 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 da. And they were having callbacks. And at the time, I was like, I think it was in my first year of uni, and I thought if I don't do acting, I'd be really interested in doing casting. And like summer holidays were coming up, and so I went to this casting, and I just hung back afterwards and was like, "Hey, you sound like you're really busy. Do you want an intern for the summer?" And the dude was like, "You would do this for free?" And I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? So then we literally went for a drink and just sat and talked about like the project and
How
why I
old were
wanted
you
to do it.
again?
I was first year college, so like 19, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then I went home, or I went on holiday with my mom, or I went out of country somewhere. And it was those days when you couldn't get your email or anything if you're out of the country.
Yep.
And I come back and there's an email from Naira Park, the producer, saying, "Hey, welcome to the team, and here's your access to Ealing Studios." And I'm like, what the did I just make happen? Like,
Oh, wow.
so I ended up working as a casting assistant for the extras for the zombies. And so whenever someone didn't turn up, or someone wasn't, I was then like, oh, we need a zombie to be like the person that spits the thing, or oh, can you? So I was in it a number of times, just like as the zombie in the corner, or like if
Really? Are you visible? Like, if I were to put on Shaun of the Dead right now, would I be able to
you
find
can.
you and be
There's like
like, "There you
one
are"?
shot where I'm wearing a denim jacket and my hair's like, bleh, and I think I'm like right near. It's when he throws the trash can into the window. It's around about that sort of
Okay.
time.
That's interesting. It is weird to like, because of this world, the like film industry and stuff like that, and like the people that and you're just sitting there and you're watching a movie that you've watched a million times, but now somebody that happens to be right in the background, or like a bit actor or like a character somewhere, and you're just like, oh shit. Like, I didn't that's a weird you have a history? You did things before I knew you? That's insane.
It was it was such an amazing time because it was so they did not know what they were doing. They were like, "This is so new to us." And the guy that I was working with in the casting office was best friends with Edgar Wright's brother, who would come in because he was doing all the artwork for it. So then me and Edgar got to be like best friends, and he would take me around the whole like the sets and be like, "Oh, look at this, look at." And so I got to know them so much more because I'd volunteered to be help out with casting than if I had just kind of rocked up or whatever it was. But my favorite moment from that was that, so, oh my God, Simon Pegg's on the, like, picnic table with the trash can thingy, or whoever's throwing it in, and oh, no, he jumps on the picnic table to distract them, that's what it was, and he's on this picnic table, and all the zombies are coming at him, and he just went, "Oh my God," and he was like, he goes, "This is, like, real, I'm doing this is amazing, like, I'm in a zombie film," and to see Simon Pegg at the sort of beginning of the days, just have that moment of, like, I dreamt up this thing and now it's happening in front of
Yeah.
me. And I thought, I'm gonna remember this moment when I'm having my like, oh my God, I'm doing a thing. Because we forget you achieve something and then go, nah, it's nothing. But in the moment, it's like, this is everything. And it was just so fabulous to watch them like build this thing.
Yeah, that is interesting. It is also interesting like that when you're acting or something to like snap out of it.
Yeah.
I always find that
Yeah.
really interesting when people ask me about acting a lot. They'll be like, do you act?" And I'm like, "I don't really." And they're like, "Well, why not?" And I was like, several reasons, but the main reason being that like every part of me wants to like snap out of it and just be like, "This is weird, right?" Like we're all grown-ups, but we're playing make-believe on camera. Like that's
What are we
should we
doing?
address that this is silly? Like, no, I'll do the line. I'll do the line. But can we all just acknowledge that this is stupid? And that's not how you want to view an art.
I guess not. But
Like that.
are you not acting when you're doing your comedy set? Like you're playing a version of yourself though, aren't you?
I mean, you know me personally, and you also know me on stage. I don't particularly think they're that different.
I don't know they're different, but you're
I'm
still
saying words
you're
that are
still
pre-written often, but those are my words that I've
yeah, but
chosen.
you're still saying that story as if it's the first time. Like
Yeah,
that's how I sometimes feel weirdly is when I'm sort of on stage or I'm saying something to people and I'm trying to make it sound like this is the first time I've ever said it. And I think that's the skill of me being funny as a host is that I'll say things like I've just thought it in the
you
moment.
have canned
And a lot of it I
responses
have
that
to.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Which
they're
spoiler
stuck
alert
things.
for those
Mhm.
of you that love crowd work videos on Instagram and stuff. It's all stuff that people have been practicing, and then and some of them are plants, by the way. Some of those people, some of the
Oh.
most famous crowd working comedians plant these people.
Well, I would say they were cheating, but whatever.
They are, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, but I don't know because like here's the thing, and this is not like I was the way I was about to say it, I was like, that seems almost insulting. You do have the veneer of Vixen DeVille and Cat LaCohie. Those are two different entities that are the same
Oh
kid.
yeah, I'm multi. Are you getting at the name of Cat LaCohie and the change of all that? Is that where you're going?
No, I was just gonna say that I'm just Jeff May every time. Like,
Oh,
so it's I don't have that. I don't want to say benefit because that again, I don't think it's necessarily a benefit to have to juggle two different
well,
names.
what's really interesting is that when I started doing Vixen DeVille, I'm playing this character. Like I am Cat LaCohie off stage, and then when I go on stage, I'm like an actor coming to the theater, putting on my makeup, putting on this costume, and I go on stage as the character Vixen DeVille. Because to me, that's what I was doing. I was in a play, so to speak, rather than I'm going on as a heightened version of myself, like a stand-up comedian would, like a normal host. And in London, I had this really heightened voice and real sort of like, oh, I'm Vixen DeVille, blah, blah, blah. And I had everything
Like super
like
posh.
learned, super, super posh, super like very, very scripted. I had all this alliteration stuff going on. And somebody said to me, I was like, oh, what do you think of my hosting? And they went, I think you need to bring more of you into it. And I was like, you, I'm playing a role. How dare you? You know? And then I came to LA and I didn't have to try so hard. And I think that's it.
Famously, LA, you don't have to try very hard. Yeah.
Well,
The
yeah.
city, this is a city that rewards you if you don't try hard.
But I didn't have to I have an accent over here. I don't have to have this heightened accent. I am a lot more chilled out on stage as Vixen DeVille over here than I was over there. Over there, I was very like, I don't know, kind of restricted and I was playing the role. I wasn't just flying and being in the moment and being present
Yeah.
and all those fun
And so
things. So
LA allowed you that with the safety of like the flat American accent,
yeah.
allowing you to sort of be like, well, your accent is posh, even if
Oh
in the
yeah.
UK it
And
isn't.
I can say anything in this accent in a dry cadence, and it'll be like, "Oh, she's so funny." So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you. There are. It certainly is a benefit to have that accent. I think
yeah,
in your especially in that world of
yeah,
entertaining because it's a sexy accent. You know, for us,
yeah. I
not
don't
for
think I'll
you.
be as if I go back and host in England, I don't think I'd be as funny.
I think you'd be as funny. I think it would just be a different kind of funny. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you're not from like London proper, right? Like, because like from where you're from, because you have a very blue collar background in like it's Newcastle, right? Which is like
Yeah. You have to say
that's
it correctly. You have to say Newcastle.
Newcastle. Yeah.
Newcastle.
You put
Yeah.
Geordie.
I'm supposed to be Geordie. I am from Newcastle, and it's like,
What does that mean, by the way? Because I have a feeling most people don't know what Geordie means.
oh, Geordie. So I don't know if you have names for accents over here, but like if
We
you're from
call them
Liverpool,
by the region usually.
right? Okay, so like you could say, oh, they have a London accent, but then London is also split up into so many. So like if you've got a proper like I guess lower class, selling stuff in the fruit market, Cockney accent,
Mhm.
or if you're from Liverpool, it's a Scouse accent. If I guess Manchester is just Mancunian, and then yeah, if you're from Newcastle, it's a Geordie accent. which
So,
is
what is there like an equivalent? Because like I I'm guessing from what I have learned about the Geordie accent in my research, that
mhm.
the closest thing would be like Jersey, like a Jersey accent in
Yeah,
where like you
yeah,
hear
and
the accent and you're like, I know where you're from.
yeah,
Even to the point where
absolutely.
MTV had a show called The Geordie Shore, right?
They did. I was just gonna say, yeah, 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 we have the Geordie Shore,
So
and
that's sort of
go
the
watch it
energy
with
that comes
subtitles.
through. But if if New Jersey was entirely just like, I mean, I guess in a way it is kind of like a manufacturing and mill kind of area as well, right? Because Newcastle
The
tends to be much
the sort
more
of the what's the word? The stereotype, like, if you put a Geordie character into a TV show, and I'm sort of talking, like, back in '80s and '90s, it might have changed by now, but they're usually, like, the friendly person, they're probably gonna be, like, hard and aggressive. It's very cold, like, we're on the same line as, like, Canada, so, like, the winters are super cold. It's cold in general, but then it means we all grow up really hard, like, no one wears a coat, and no
so
one,
it's a
like,
very it's almost okay, so
yeah, we
More like
drink
a
a
Boston
yeah, I
accent,
think
I
it's sort of
feel.
like a Boston thing. We all drink a bunch. It's definitely a
Boston,
town to go to for, like, a bachelorette party. It's also a college town, so you've got a
Boston.
university there, so it's like that, and it's very people say it's friendly, and it's like but it's more that I think it's more that you hear the accent and you know you're my friend because 'cause you're also a Geordie, and it's very tribal. It's
Okay.
like, "Oh, if you don't have the accent, you're not part of our thing." And I grew up and people were like, "Yeah, man, right, yous talk posh, don't you? You're not from here, like." And I remember having a boyfriend at like 14 or 15, like one of my very first boyfriends, probably my first one, in fact. And his dad, I remember going in the house to like pick something up real quick. So I stood in the doorway and he sat in this chair with his back to me. And he goes, "Well, you're going to sit down then, because no one's going to ask you." And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, hi, welcome.
I feel welcome. Yeah, it does. The accent, from what I pieced together, it kind of sounds almost Jamaican. If like,
It's many things. There's
yeah.
it
It's if
sounds
you've ever
Welsh,
seen a white
it
person speaking
sounds
with a Jamaican accent, it was
there
probably
you go.
Geordie.
Yeah. Oh, because we were talking about the bacon beer can thing, weren't we? Like, a bacon sandwich, you say beer can. I want a beer can sandwich.
Beacon.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's strange and weird. But so okay, so Newcastle, so that's a rough spot. Not rough like violence, but it's a spot where it's cold. It's a place that makes you hardy
Yeah.
and tough as nails. And then you come into the what seems like the least blue collar profession that I can think of, which is make believe and and
Right.
imagination and
Yeah.
creativity, which is kind of frowned down upon if you come in it, you know, if you're in like a mill town or like, you know,
Yeah.
if you grew up in an area where everyone's like, we all worked in the mine, and then you're like, I
Oh,
want to be
it's
a
like,
poet, and they're like, get
yeah,
in the
get what you're
mine.
given, don't complain about anything. Oh, it's not for the likes of us. Like, the other people in the world, they're doing that, but we're down here and we're doing our thing, and that's not realistic. And like I said, that's so weird that I always thought, "Oh, London's where to be. Nothing happens in Newcastle. Newcastle's not the place." And I'd see, like, Saturday morning shows that people would win stuff when they phone in, and they were always from London. It's like, "Ah, no one knows what Newcastle is." And so to join this theatre troupe in Newcastle where they're being salaried actors, it was crazy to me that, oh wow, in my town there is millions of dollars to make a career out of performing. And that was really when it hit me, like I said, when I was like 16, 17, applying for colleges. And that's when I switched my whole like trajectory of like, oh, I can't, like, this is realistic. It doesn't have to be a pipe dream. And
That's
yeah,
the
yeah, screw
reality of
everyone else.
it being
Yeah,
viable.
yeah, yeah,
Did you
exactly.
know did you know going in that how difficult of a career path it is, or were you still young and dumb enough to
No,
be? Because like I was pretty dumb at 30 when I
oh,
retired
yeah, and then
and was just like, I'm gonna do stand-up comedy for a living.
and
And the
you
reality
didn't
is
know
like
how
I'm gonna drive people to the airport for a living, and then I'm gonna do stand-up comedy in
to
it.
Uber.
Yeah.
Did you know how difficult it would be to do I mean, you must have had an idea, or you just thought, "Oh, go to LA and boomtown,"
I
like.
think because I had really good luck getting my job teaching, because my job fell in my lap and it was in my backyard, basically, like literally my backyard. Where like my hometown was just like, we need you
You
have a
need
very
teachers.
specific set of skills that we need right now. And
Right.
I had been graduated for a little over a month,
Yeah.
and they called and offered me the job. So like I think without having any resistance as an adult, I had no resistance as an adult.
Yeah.
From I had just turned 22 when I got my job and all the way through 30. Now I had personal setbacks. I had like, oh, went through this breakup, or oh, I'm married and now I'm divorced. And like there are personal setbacks, but from a professional level,
Yeah.
there were no speed bumps. It was
Yeah.
like I settled in. I happened to be the right person for it. So it was kind of easy for me. The kids liked me because I was, young and vibrant and an athlete, but also a nerd. Like I never, I was an inside cat. I was a house cat.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think I'm going to start living outside now. And like,
I'll
it'll
give it
be
a
fine.
try.
I'm just going to make a pivot. I'm just going to make a pivot to living outside. And the reality is that like when you're a house cat, you have walls and heat and available food and water, but when you're outside, that's all stuff you have to fight for. And I don't think I was sufficiently prepared for that fight. But when you're younger and you're going through that, like you might be, and this is a weird phrasing, but it's just a phrase. When you're younger, you're probably too dumb to know the difference early on. So that when you're
Yeah.
dealing with the hardships, you're just like, this is normal. This is natural.
I also think this kind of, well, I think two things for me was that people had just said, or it was just the general consensus that, oh, acting's difficult. I mean, it's in films, it's in TV shows, it's in storylines that being an actor is difficult. You'll always be out of work, blah 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 blah. Blah. And I was kind of like, well, challenge accepted. Like, let's do this. And I remember being at university
Maybe
and
that's the Newcastle in you.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Like, you if I'm going to stay in Newcastle and just be told that I can't do something. Like, it just seemed really like I'd say people, oh, I'm going to be an actor, and they're like, yo, yeah, yeah, I'd love to go to, I'd love to be in Friends. I'd love to go to. I'm like, no, no, I'm gonna be an actor. I'm not being a about this. It's like I want to be a princess, or I
You're
want
just
to
like, no, no, no,
be
not
a
like you.
fucking
I'm actually
unicorn.
going to do it.
No, 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 no. I'm actually doing it. You dumbass. So I remember going at university, going to there's like my friend would laugh at me because it was very Geordie. I'd be like, she'd go, what are you doing for lunch? I'm going to the computers. She was like, are you going to the computers again? And she'd like almost laugh at me for doing it. But I would go at my lunch break and go log on to it was PCR or the stage. But anyway, there was listings for acting jobs. And I was actively looking for acting work while I was at university because I was like, I need to get like a head start in this. Like I remember writing to agents in Newcastle when I was 14 or 15 because I was like, you're an actor, you get an agent. That's what you do. Okay, well, where are the agents then? I don't know. Like, I remember just figuring it out and being really like, I want this to happen. Like, this is happening.
Jesus. Wow, you really did. It's like one of those things where people are like, well, you put it out there and it came.
Mm,
And it's like,
yeah.
well, I also feel like maybe you said the thing and then you just viciously and rabidly went for it, which I think
Yeah.
is super determined at that age. Like
Yeah.
at the age of 14 to be going through that for that stuff and to go through. And what's funny is like you do act. You've
Mhm.
been in plenty of things. Some things actually that we're going to talk about in the
Okay.
bonus content that I want to talk about. But you do act, and you've been in a lot of things. You've been in comedy shorts, and you've been in dramas and big network things and small
Yeah.
independent things. So you have really worked your way across. You Shaun of the Dead, accidentally, but also not accidentally.
Yes.
Like that is one of those things where, and it is funny to look at the way you think. The way you think is fascinating, is where I'm going with this, because a normal person, if somebody called them, and normal, you are
No
abnormal,
worries.
but we know that. If somebody gets on the phone and they're like, "Hey, sorry, we don't have time to get back to you yet, but we will at some point in time," and then you were just like, "I'll help. Like, just let me help you do that then." Like
Yeah.
most people would be like, "Okay, no problem," and then go about their lives, and you're just like, well, I guess I'll just help you do that. And that'll probably help me in my needs, but also at the same time, like, help you guys out. And that's a story that you get. Nobody else on that movie has that story.
Yeah. People are like, oh, how did you get that? Where did you see it? I was like, it wasn't listed anywhere. It wasn't like I applied for an intern or a job that like
You literally
I
created
created it. Like I created that position.
you created a market for yourself. And
Yeah.
that's actually the next part of this interview that I'm going to talk about, because I'm super, super fascinated by that. Before, funny story about that, by the way, as we are creating
Yeah.
our own experiences, I have created my own Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff May. If you are listening on that, thank you so much. If you're listening for free, Thank you for listening to the show. I appreciate you. I'd like you so much more if you gave me money. One of the tiers, we have a lot of different tiers on here. One of the tiers that we have is the producer tier. If you want me to, I don't know, say your name out loud every episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends, I will do that. Head on over to patreon.com/JeffMay and become one of the producers just like my man. Shout out to Bart Fardigan. Shout out to Dan Adamski, world's humblest man. That's a strong claim. Some would say an ironic claim. Shout out to Norm from Cheers. Shout out to Dan Hackroyd. Shout out to Normal Man, Andrew McGuire. Shout out to check out this month's Nerd with Dre and Jeff. That's, of course, Dre Alvarez co-hosting Nerd. I don't know if we've decided to say out loud what our next season is going to be, but I'll reveal it on this episode. Our next season of Nerd, video game adaptations and film. And we are going to have some guests. Do you have a favorite video game movie, Kat?
A video game movie?
Yes. I asked you this because I have a feeling you do not know any.
I do not. I don't think I even know. You know what? I'd probably watch one not knowing it was actually based on a video game.
You're like, there seems to be a lot of these Resident Evil movies.
Watched one of them
zombies.
maybe once. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, what do you think? What
I did like Player
Ready Player One?
There you go. I like that.
That's a book adaptation, but that's fine. That's
but
fine.
it's
You got
about
there.
video games, kind
Books
of.
are the video games of the mind.
There
So
you go.
you're right there. Yeah, we're doing video game movies, and we've got a couple guests coming. It's going to be very fun. Shout out to watch me use these prehensile nipples to pick up pennies off the floor. That would be a hell of a burlesque act.
There you go. That sounds like a Boobzilla act.
Yeah. A what?
Oh, there's a performer called Boobzilla, and a lot of her acts involve her giant boobs. But she holds a basketball net under them and has people throw basketballs into the net that is held up by her.
Is this person like a local? Oh, so I'm looking at that. Okay. Freak Show, AMC.com, Boobzilla comes. Oh, so this is a very interesting crushing soda cans.
Yeah. We
Oh,
met her in LA. She works in Vegas now. She tours around, and we're teaching a class together next week.
Of course you are. I don't know what I was thinking here. Shout out to the Oatmeal Savage. Shout out to Call Me Sean or whatever. Shout out to the To Be Terror Bunny, says the strike may be over, but egg Bob Iger anyway, because shout out to Mr. Bailey Beck. Shout out to the lovely Carson. Shout out to Aldo Vargas, is a couple months behind on his podcast, but he'll hear this eventually. We love that.
It's the best.
Shout out to that scene in Lost City where Brad Pitt dies. Shout out to the ghost of Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's, Fresh Never Frozen. Do you eat fast food?
Are you talking about Wendy's?
That was Wendy's, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I do
fast
eat
food,
fast
yeah?
food. I was going to say I already told you about the fire-breathing Wendy's thing, but yeah.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. So, okay, we'll say that. The ghost of Dave Thomas paid you some money, right? Because you're in a Wendy's commercial. We'll talk about that in a second. That's a fascinating one. Do you eat Wendy's regularly?
I don't
Or
eat Wendy's.
often or ever?
I will sometimes eat Carl's Jr. because it's on the way to the desert. I kind of got into the Beyond Burgers and the vegetarian versions of fast food because it kind of makes me feel a little bit better about myself.
One of the funniest things about what you just said is, without understanding what that meant, you just like, there's Carl's Jr. on the way to the desert. And we haven't officially explained why you go to the desert yet. So that teaser is insane. Like
You're welcome.
You're going to bury a body. Shout out to, I'm going to start calling Yoda Old Grogu just to see what happens. Shout out to mashed potatoes are the brioche buns of side dishes. That is somebody very much talking about my food preferences in there, as I am unimpressed by mashed potatoes.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what it was. I was thinking, I think brioche buns must be being looked down on in this.
I'm not a fan. I do not think they belong around a burger.
Oh, no, they don't. They do not. No.
It's too thin. It's too light of a texture. The grease of the burger dissolves most of the bread almost immediately. The bun itself is like a little wet. It's like a little like greasy because of how it's a dessert bread in France.
Give a brioche bun to someone who's going to throw the bun away, is what you're saying. The person who's like, I don't want my carbs, but I'll order the bun and not have to be pedantic about it.
Yeah, you can say brioche bun, so that way the grease dissolving the bun does the work for you.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you're wasting food. And shout out finally to the Enchanted Wandering Unpierced Left Nipple cider served at room temperature. I don't know if that's nipple cider or if it's just cider served at room temperature after all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if that's actually cider is in the kind I drink, which is non-alcoholic,
Or ciders
or
and
like
full
a hard
cider.
cider. There's
That's true.
so many ways that that could go with the enchanted wandering unpierced left nipple cider served at room temperature. But either way, shout out to those producers. And if you yourself want to be a producer, head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May and sign up for the producer tier or the two-face tier. And that will happen. The two-face tier, they get stuff in the mail too.
Oh,
I
very, I
get
was gonna say,
cards and stuff from when I open my little cards, and I'll send them in the mail.
in
The
the
old
actual mail,
packages.
like old times.
I get packages,
Oh,
and the packages, the envelopes, they have my face on them or my logo
wow.
on them. It's really stupid. I think I'm
You
losing
get to
money on
wake
that
up to
tier,
your
but
face in the morning.
yeah, it's so fun. It's I think I make like $1 an hour off that tier, but it's fine because I love
Amazing.
it. Um, you were in a Wendy's commercial.
I was. I
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Breathing fire because that's the
Yes.
thing you do.
That's the thing I do. I do it now. There used to be a joke when I was teaching fire eating,
You also
that
teach fire eating.
I also teach fire eating, that there was 3 types of fire. There's fire flow, fire eating, and fire breathing. And this is fire flow, and this is fire eating. And fire breathing is something I know how to do, but don't do unless someone will pay me a lot of money. And I made that joke for a long, long, long time. And then someone came along and said, "We'll pay you a lot of money." And so I was like, "Okay, it, I'll now be a fire breather, and that will be a thing I do."
Well, I mean, that's pretty rad. Like that's pretty intense. And so yeah, you breathe fire on that. Wendy's had like a fire burger or something, like a hot.
It was the jalapeno bacon burger, and it was part of Wendy's Bacon Fest. And the whole thing was celebrating it's Bacon Fest, and here's all the different products we have that have bacon in them. And like they spent so much money on this commercial to the point at which they had their own fabric printed with bacon strips on it, so that I could then have like a headpiece made out of this bacon fabric, and then they used it, I guess, to make the cushions on set. You couldn't tell it was bacon. No one, but that's like the detail that they had
Yeah,
gone
it was like
through.
it seems like they had to like hurry up and get their budget finished or else they would lose it. So they were like,
Yeah, right.
Make the bacon fabric.
Let's get our own fabric. Like, duh, that's what we'll do. It'll be great.
And so yeah, you're the hot lady blowing fire.
I am standing. Yes, there's about 4 or 5 main characters in that. 2 people are like ordering food and actually have a line. There's a DJ that has a big burger over his head, so you can't tell who he is. And
Uh,
then there's a girl, I think,
like
like
marshmallow,
throwing,
basically.
right, yeah. And then there's like a girl like throwing money on like on the bacon burgers and stuff. There's like 3 different versions of the commercial in this
It
shortened
seems
version.
like it's a commercial based in the idea of like sin.
I
So
I guess, yeah, we're all like in this
like
nightclub,
hell.
like having a great time,
Yeah.
and like this is like the place. Yeah, we're all like selling our souls for bacon. I don't know,
So
but I eat the burger. It's so hot because it's got jalapeno in it, and then I breathe fire, and and everyone
you
goes.
eat the burger on camera?
I do eat the. I don't like legit eat it, but you see me hold it, take a bite, and then breathe
Well,
fire.
yeah,
So
if you
the
eat the burger,
audience
you have
sees me
to
eating it.
you spit the burger out after you took the bite, right? From the cut, or did
Oh,
you swallow the burger?
it was multiple cuts.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we'll work backwards. We'll breathe the fire. Then you'll hold the burger with the chunk taken out of it, and you'll have your mouth close to the burger, and then breathe the fire. And then you'll have the burger. And I think I did actually take one bite of an actual burger. They call it the hero burger, meaning the one that gets the close-up shot.
Yeah.
And they get a tweezer and they move around the onion and the bait and they make it look exactly correct. Like, so, oh, didn't you work in food with the?
Sure,
Oh,
I
yeah,
worked on a food
you
show. So they
yeah.
hire a person called a food stylist. So I worked on The Taste. I worked on that show, The Taste, with Anthony Bourdain and Marcus
Yeah.
Samuelsson, Nigella Lawson, and Ludo Lefebvre.
Jell-O.
And yeah, so our winner that year was a food stylist. Like that
Mm,
was her job, is she was a food stylist in LA.
yeah.
And nobody thought she could win. Like all the people were just like, yeah, but she's not like a cook. She's a stylist. She knows the
Yeah.
aesthetics of food more than
Yeah.
flavor. And she showed up and just beat ass and ended
Oh.
up winning, which was great.
The most difficult thing in that whole commercial, because I had to at the end hold it in my hand and go like that to camera. And so I had to have my hand like on a C stand, like to keep it steady. And I had to go like that.
Like
Oh,
you
no
had
one
to
can
turn
see
it
me.
like a Muppet
I
facing
had
the
to
camera.
hold,
Yeah.
yeah, imagine my elbow is on a table and I'm holding it in my hand and my puppet is looking at camera and then looking away. and it was out of shot, and then it was too wiggly, and I was like, "This is the most difficult thing I've ever done." Like,
Yeah,
just
just getting a
turning my
burger.
hand and holding it exactly the way they wanted it to be. It was just ridiculous. Yeah.
And they paid you well for that?
They paid me very, very well for that. Did you want the whole story of how I got it? Did
Yeah,
you
I sure do. Because it makes me feel like you kicked in the door to Wendy's and was just like, "I will do this
I
job."
will do this thing. So with fire, like I said, I teach fire, and I'll say there's fire flow, which is where you're dancing with the fire fans, fire staff, poi, that kind of stuff. There's fire eating, where the thing's on fire, and then you put it in your mouth, you extinguish the fire. And then fire breathing is you have fuel in your mouth, you spit it over a flame, and then there is more fire. And there's those three different things. And so sometimes people will want fire in a shot to just create the atmosphere of there's a party going on, and they just want fire in the background, and they don't care if it's eating or fire flow, or they don't care what equipment it is. And they might want an aesthetic like spooky Halloween, or they want like Hawaiian themed, or whatever it is. So you never really know. The casting sometimes don't know what they want, but sometimes they know exactly what they want. So I've gone in where the casting go, we don't know, show us what you do. And so this said, looking for a fire breather, and so many people sent it to me going, "Oh my God, there's a fire breather." I was like, "Yeah, but they specifically said fire breather, and I don't do that." And then my agent sent it to me and was like, "There's a fire breather." I was like, "No, I don't fire breathe." And she's like, "Look, just go with the casting. You never know. Just go with the casting." And so I'm over in Hollywood, and this casting's at like 4 o'clock over in Santa Monica. And I'm like, me, am I going to drive that far in traffic for this thing I know
Yeah,
I'm not
Santa
going to
Monica,
get?
for those of you that are not familiar with LA geography, Santa Monica is the beach. Most of us do not live there because we cannot afford it, and
Oh,
traffic is bad to get there.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, like if you're coming from Hollywood to Santa Monica, expect at least an hour each way.
yeah. Like
And
an hour
and
and
it's
traffic.
like 11 miles.
And also, I'd been to castings for fire before, and you can't demonstrate your skill in the room because you nothing's on fire. So they go, "Well, show us what it looks like," and you just eat a stick, and you go, "That's what it looks like. I could have sent you some video." So I go to this casting, and I go in, and they say, "So fire breathing, fire. Tell us about your experience." And so I could talk intellectually about, "Oh, I've been eating fire for 12 years, and I've been doing this, and I worked here, and did this, did that." Blah, blah, blah. And they went, "Cool. Can you show us what fire breathing looks like?" And I'm like, that's what it looks like. It's just
You're like,
breathing
"Here right
out.
now? You want me to kill you? Is that what you
Like,
want?"
that's what it looks like. So then like, "Great, can you send us a reel? We'll let you guys know." And I walked out seething. Like, I've just driven an hour here to tell you my experience in fire, and for you to say, "Send me your reel." Like, I could have done that from home. This is why I kinda liked virtual times, because it was like, it saved all that ridiculousness, although I do still don't get to meet them in person. So then I drive home for an hour in traffic, and then I get a call from agent going, "Oh, we've got a call back for you. Can you go dressed as if fire is your lifestyle?"
Which it
I
is.
mean, what does that mean?
Get it. Stop. I'm gonna actually pause on this one right now. That's probably 40% of your wardrobe is if you see your performing wardrobe. I
Oh,
would
I
see
mean,
if
I
I looked at your
have
performing wardrobe, I'd be like, "This
yeah.
woman is fire."
I guess, but, like, fire is your lifestyle. Does that mean that I'm black and leathery? Does it mean I'm more, like, hippie and cotton and natural fibers because 'cause they're not on fire?
No.
Is it that I'm sparkly and show like, what the does it mean?
They want like sexy demon, I think.
I who knows? Who knows what they mean, but, I figured it out, obviously.
What did
Got
you
it.
figure out? What was the outfit?
Oh, so I wore like a t-shirt. I wore like a black t-shirt. I thought, well, what's my? I think with castings and acting and everything, you have to always think, well, what's it through the filter of my brand, rather than me trying to be what they're looking for. Let me hear what they're saying and put it through my brand, so at least it's authentic.
Yeah.
So if I'd gone sort of like new age hippie Burning Man sort of like natural colors, that's not in my
I
wardrobe, but
think
they
you could
can
tell that
sense
that's
that.
not what they wanted anyway.
I mean, looking at the actual finished commercial, it's very modern jeans and t-shirt stuff, and they ended up put me in just a standard black, like, bodycon dress. It was very just standard nightclub. But anyway, so I think I wore, like, little black shorts with, like, one of those kind of utility belt things on it, and then a t-shirt that had kinda not tie-dye, but kinda like edges of color, like a Jackson Pollock type of,
Okay.
like, splashes of color on a black T-shirt, and yeah, it was kinda like edgy, not really going goth, but kind of in the middle of it, I guess. Yeah, anyway, but that's what I ended up wearing, and, like, some boots because that was my style. So I got this casting, this callback, and again, I have to drive to freaking Santa Monica at 4:30, like, at rush hour time. They always kept putting it at rush hour time, and I go in, but what's weird in my brain is that every time I went, I kept meeting 2 or 3 people who I hadn't seen for a long, long time from, like, an acting class or from, like, and something really made me go, "This is like I'm supposed to be here for some reason." There was a number of people I hadn't seen who I loved,
Mhm.
and bumped into them on the way to the casting or bumped into them on the way out, and it's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that you're here. It's so great to see
For the
you."
same role?
No, 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 for other things that were
Okay.
happening in that building. So it was just like, this is a weird timing thing. Like I've had that happen in my life a number of times where just either I've been delayed for something or I got somewhere early or a train got cancelled. But then something happened as a result of that. It was like, oh, I was supposed to be here in this exact
Like
moment right now.
serendipitous, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I went into this callback and there's like 30 people in the room, the client and the producers and the directors and everybody. And
And the
again,
ghost of Dave Thomas was
and the
there,
ghost of Thomas was there, and the cider that was room temperature was there.
which was a
All
weird person to be working for them, but that's
it's
fine.
very strange.
The
I was
Wendy's
surprised.
new Biggie room temperature cider.
Yeah, that's what they're selling now.
No
So I
ice.
go in and there's all these people, and I'm still a bit like annoyed at myself for being there. So I think I went in just not even trying to impress because I didn't know I can't impress them. So like, well, here's the thing. So we're gonna have you're dancing at a nightclub and we'll have the music that we've got for the thing. So I want to see you dancing to this music, and then you bite the burger and then you spit out the fire. And I said, am I a te I think there's 2 reasons I think I got it. A, because I asked this question, and B, because I helped them with their problem later on. So the first question was like, am I an attendee at the nightclub eating a burger and I'm surprised it's so hot and I'm surprised at the fire? Or am I a performer at the nightclub and me eating the fire from the burger is like my party trick? And they went the second one, that second one. And I think because I actually bothered to ask the question of in what context am I breathing fire? I think a lot of the other people they brought in for fire breathing maybe weren't actors or maybe weren't, and they were just, oh, I'll show you my trick. I'll show you my trick rather than know what you're looking for in
Yeah,
context.
that's very much somebody who has been in front of a camera before asking
Yeah,
that.
or like it's like what is the story of this commercial and what are you guys looking for? And I'll put it through my filter, you know? So they play the music and I bite the burger and I fake spit out this fire. And then they're like, so here's what we're really wanting is like we want you to actually hold the burger, have the bite, spit the fire. How would you film that? And I've just come off like I've filmed a bunch of stuff. I've been behind the
You're
camera a
like,
bunch.
we don't know how to make our commercial.
I know. So I don't know how many. I wonder if a lot of fire breathers would be like, I don't know, that's your job. But I was like, well, I would get the burger, I'd bite into it, I would lock off the camera, I'd have the C stand, I would do this, and I just put the shot together for them, and I was like, you would cut there, and then you'd edit that, and I was like, and that's how you would do it, and I think they were like, oh, even if they already know how to do the shot, maybe they wanted to see that I knew what the shoot day would look like and not be like asking them questions, why are we not shooting in sequence? Or I don't know. But I
It's
remember
so
just telling
wild
them how
what's
to shoot
getting
the
you
shot.
these gigs.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Rather
crazy.
than just
But
leave it.
it does go to show you like that it takes something very intrinsic to make stuff happen and to
Oh
not
my gosh.
expect things
Yeah.
to just happen to you, but to
Yeah.
make things happen.
Like
We
someone who was they wanted someone who was like on the team, not just you're gonna stand there as a prop and be told what to do. We need you to be an active member of the
Yeah.
team. But the best part is that I then walked out of the room. And then I had a job the other side of LA, so, like, another hour I had to go downtown LA,
Oh God.
for
You had to go from Santa Monica to downtown at like 6
at, like,
p.m.
5 o'clock at this
Oh,
point. Yeah. So then or, like, 4:30ish, come out of it, and I'm now on my way home, which is maybe a half hour stuck in traffic, and I get a call from my agent going, "It's between you and one other person, but they've realized they don't have any footage of you breathing fire." And I said, because that's because I don't do it. I've never done it, and I told you this. And she was like, "Well, for $30,000, you will." It's like, "Okay, give me a second, give me a second." So I'm stuck in my car, and I went, "If you can get footage, we need footage of you fire breathing by end of day today," whatever that was, 6:30, I guess. Otherwise it's gonna go to this other person. And I'm like, "Oh my God." So I I
you're like,
ring
so I
my
really mixed up the next job. You're like, I'm gonna try something new.
let me just
Get your cameras out.
let me just. So I rang up my magician friend. I think it was Eddie Mandrano. I rang him up and I was like, I know, because I knew I knew the logistics of how to breathe fire. I just had never
Theory
actually
of it,
done it
yeah.
before. Yeah. So I was like, here's what I'm planning on doing: using this fuel, doing this thing, blah, 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 blah. Do I sound like I'm doing it right? And he was like, oh, yeah. And just make sure it's this and make sure it's that. He goes, but you got it. Like, you're not going to kill yourself. Like, that's absolutely fine. Make sure you don't do this. Make sure you don't do that. Blah, 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 blah. So then I'm still stuck in traffic. So I call my friend and I'm like, on your way home from work, because you live near a whatever it was, Target or something, can you Home Depot, can you please pick up some lamp oil? I'm like, why do you need lamp oil? You don't breathe fire. I was like, for $30,000 I do. So they went and picked up lamp oil on my way home. And then I'm still in traffic. So I'm like, it. I go on YouTube and go, are there any videos on how to breathe fire? Just as like an example. So I watch these videos on the way home. I get home, and again, they're like, wear something that's performery. So I put on my leather fire eating bra and some denim shorts and my utility belt and my boots. And I breathe fire like 3 times. And my friend's recording it. I was like, what does it look like? And he goes, it's great. Could you do it again, but not look so scared doing it? Yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
even though you eat fire and you play with fire, you hadn't breathed it. It was like the one thing you hadn't
It
done
was the
yet.
one thing I hadn't done, and it's very loud, it's a lot of heat in your face, and it's connected to you because it's coming out of your mouth and it's whereas when you're eating fire, yeah, it's by your mouth, but it's a separate entity. When you're breathing it, it's coming from the thing that is scary, you're creating it, and it's just a whole
What's the
different
trick to not
experience.
die? To not inhale when when you have the oil in your mouth, or do you have to like
Oh,
expel all of the oil?
don't swallow the oil, don't breathe it in. And if the wind direction is a whole thing, like it could blow back in your face. So actually on set, it was the most filming that on set was the easiest, most safest place I've ever breathed fire, because they had 3 fire personnel. I can't remember who it was, a fire marshal, a fire safety, and a health person. They had the thing that I'm lighting it off was hanging from the ceiling, and they photoshopped it out. So I didn't have to do the timing of actually lighting it from my own hand. I could
Oh,
just
that's cool.
sit towards the fire. But so I sent in this video and got it. And then I go in for my fitting, and they're all like, so how long have you been doing this for? And I was like, oh, I want to say like 12 years. And it's true, I've been eating fire for 12
Yeah,
years, but I
I've
haven't
been doing
been doing
this specifically for 12
it.
years.
Fire in general. Oh yeah, 12 years. And then when I go in to film it, I go in for the rehearsal before lunch, and it's not just can you breathe fire? I'm on this podium that's like 10 feet in the air, and there's like 30 or 40 extras who are all dancing in this nightclub. And then there's 30 or 40 crew who are all like, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So I go, do you want me to do a spit with water so you can get the frame? And they're like, oh, absolutely. Thank you. Cause I was like, I need to practice this shit. Like, give me some practice
Yeah.
time. So do like 2 or 3 for practice. And they go, great. Okay, we'll break for lunch. And I'm like, oh, me, what am I even doing? But it was great.
But
The
you'd
fire,
already breathed fire.
yeah,
Like,
but
what do
not
you mean?
in
Like, what
front
am
of
I
the
doing?
80.
You already did it.
Yeah, but they were all like, "Can you control the size of the plume?" And I just didn't have confidence that I had done it enough to be the professional of it, like, and get them the shot that they needed.
They
Like,
don't
was
know
my big
about
enough?
that. Like, that's the thing is
Yeah,
like if you could be like, it's very hard to control the plume, but I can do my best, and they'd be like, that sounds like the correct
right.
answer.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you could just be like, oh, it's fire. And
Yeah.
then all the fire professionals would be like, she's right about that. It is fire. It's not something we can necessarily control. It is the most dangerous thing on the planet.
Yeah,
You
but
tame it.
now I teach fire breathing, so that's
And that would have been really funny if you were on the podium. You're like, if anybody else wants to know how to do this, I'm going to teach a class on this.
um,
That would have been a great way. Do you guys want to be on the podium? You extras? You guys want to learn how to be on the podium?
I
Take
think
my learn to eat and blow fire class.
it's
Now,
just with anything like that when the budget is so high and there's so many eyes on it, like just holding the burger and turning the burger with my heart's going because if you up, then you up, like you the multi-million-dollar shot and it's all on you. And I think that's what my problem was. Not can I breathe fire or not? It's like, can I do the job that these people are paying me a lot of money to do? And will I it up? Like I just
if you need
hadn't.
to do a couple takes, you need to do a couple takes. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. So moving past Wendy's, because
Yeah.
I could probably talk about Wendy's this whole time, but I know we only have a certain amount of time. I was perusing vixendeville.com,
Okay.
VixenDeville vixendivel.com. There are some interesting aspects to this website. First off, you need to update your upcoming shows
I do, yes.
because October is
Too
done.
busy.
And
Almost
you
October.
have things coming up. Like you literally have things like one of the reasons I asked you to do the show is because I know you have your live show that I've seen, by the way, Vixen DeVille Revealed. You have a show as a part of Solo Fest in LA Thursday, February 15th. So the day after Valentine's from 8 to 10. You do have tickets at the Whitefire Theater, which there's an Eventbrite for it, and we can add the links and all that and talk about that. I've seen the show. I saw the show what feels like 5 years ago.
Yeah, so this is my solo show. It's all Vixen's Overdose and Vixen. And you saw it when I premiered it at the Hollywood Fringe Festival in
Mhm.
2018. So I did it at the Fringe Festival. It won, I think, 3 awards, 2 awards, and then I took it on tour in 2019 where it won another bunch of awards. It went to the Indiana Fringe Festival, it went to the Tucson Fringe Festival. It went to another one, which I'm blanking on, and then it went up to, in 2021, I took it up to the Gesser Powerhouse in Walla Walla, Washington, and then it's come back to Whitefire a couple of times. They had their 40th anniversary solo fest, and I did a residency there for 3 months in 2019, and we had it shot for a TV show, so it's still like in its post edit
Really? Wow.
got stuck. Yeah. It was supposed to be released 2020 and then 2020 pandemic happened and then I lost my
What
producer
pandemic?
and yeah, so it's still trundling along. It'll be a TV special at some point. But
The show is great. Like the show itself is really good in a way that like sometimes when I go to live events, I'm like, I'm glad I could support, but I'm ready to go home now.
yeah.
And that wasn't the case. So you have, yeah, the multi-award winning solo show returns Thursday, February 15th for the Soaring Solo Artist Award, Best International Show in the Hollywood Fringe Festival, which that seems like a bit of a asterisk on international. You're an American. It's fine.
At the
Best
time I was
Best Out of Town Show, Tucson. The Encore Producers Award from Hollywood Fringe in 2018. Best Solo Performance in the Valley Theater Awards 2019. And Best Solo Performance, Indiana Fringe 2019. There is a photo of you in like leather bikini looking angry, holding a sword.
Yep.
Folks, there's also one of you eating fire and one of you like talking, and the background looks like your tongue is sticking out, but it's not. It's just the way the background is edited. All of the energy that I just described is exactly what the show is about. And if you are in LA, you're an idiot if you don't go.
And
Um,
if you buy there's VIP take part tickets where you can learn to eat fire or walk on broken glass during the show.
That is fascinating because you also do have classes. You have an intro to burlesque class. You have an online intro to burlesque class. So if people want to learn that, which by the way, I know some of your students, like independently from the burlesque world. My friend Jill, who is the very, very talented, she's a talent manager at DC Comics. She also happens to be married to guest of the show and friend of the show, Scott Koblish. On New Year's, I was there and somehow something had happened where like she talked about fire, breathing fire, eating fire. And I was like, oh, my friend teaches that. And she was like, is it Vixen DeVille? And I was like, absolutely. She's like, I love her so much. She's like, I
Like,
took that
oh,
class. And it was really cool and fascinating. So I know people that vouch for the stuff that I can't vouch for because I've never been a part of it. So you are this sort of weird nucleus of like, pardon the pun, but fringe energy in performing. Like you do cool, weird shit. You do an online solo act development. I'm just looking at your vixendeville.com/links. You have Learn to Eat Fire, online solo act development course, e-gift card, online intro to burlesque class, and then an intro to burlesque class. You have all the podcasts that you've been on. Can't wait till mine shows up
there you go.
on there. And then you have the show coming up. But here's something also weird. You have an e-store.
Ah,
And like I'm fascinated by this where you sell like branded makeup. Like you have your own makeup, is
yeah,
that
so
right?
that started off I was making fire equipment, so fire eating torches, and I was making
Which you also sell.
costuming pieces, which I also sell, and I was making like costuming-y pieces. I don't do the costumes so much anymore, but yeah, over the last year, I started branching out to merch. So the glitter lips that I wear all the time, I've got my own brand for that. Lipstick,
You say
eyelashes.
glitter lips, is that, like, something you apply, or is that, like, literally you put on, like, a little
Oh, so yeah,
sticker?
I used to like back when I started doing it in London, I saw someone else doing it. They just would put glitter on their own lipstick and the lipstick would keep it attached. And then in the last sort of couple of years, a couple of brands have come out where they actually do like a more of a glue so that the glitter stays on the glue. But I always found it very peely or it would get crusty, it would come off. And so I was like, everyone kind of it's not a trademark of Vixen, it's definitely a trademark of burlesque in general, but I will always wear glitter lips if I'm Vixen DeVille. And so it had become a bit of a like, oh, Vixen wears glitter lips. It's like, well, yeah, I should have my own Vixen DeVille brand of glitter lips. And so I got it so that the glue wasn't so crusty and not so peely. And now it's my own brand and there's a picture of me on the box and it's really
Yeah, there's the starter kit, the diva kit, and the headliner kit, which I find
fun.
really interesting. You sell fire torches, you sell a learn to eat fire gift set, which is the most insane combination of words I've seen in a very long time. You have fire eating fingers. Here's one that's real interesting that you sell: fire
Mhm.
pasties.
Yes, 2 different styles. Oh, I don't think the tassels are on there. So there's fire tassels that have been around, I think, since Satan's Angel started doing them. But I was like, I want to make ones that are static so you don't have to keep because if you don't keep them moving, then they'll burn
You're gonna
you.
you're gonna get
And
burnt.
not everyone's super like skilled at twirling tassels. So I was experimenting with having some static ones. The only downside is that it's like you can't really wear them under a layer, under a layer, under a layer, but you can wear them as a fire performer and they're there and they're on fire. So
Yeah.
yes.
How many of those have you sold, if you don't mind me asking? Because
Oh my
that's such a
gosh.
unique.
They're so unique that it comes in sometimes I'll have an order for like 3 in 1 week and then not have an order for like months. I would say not very many, but I would say like maybe 10 to 15 pairs in
Because I
the
was
like
wondering, I was like, you could have told me any number. If you were like one person has bought those, I'd be like, that
yeah,
makes
you'd be
sense.
surprised.
And then if you were like, I've sold 75,000 of these, I'd be like, also that makes sense. Like I have no understanding of how many people would buy essentially fire nipples. Um,
Right.
you also sell a neo burlesque deck.
Oh, so that's the Neo Burlesque deck. That was made by Lily Von Stupp, who's like the main like the queen of burlesque in LA. She used to run the Hollywood Burlesque Festival, and she had the burlesque deck because so her
Is it
partner is Eddie Mandrano, who I called to ask how to fire breathe
perfect?
on the way to the Wendy's commercial.
So is
So
this
yeah,
a deck of trading cards or playing cards? It
it's
looks like
playing
playing cards.
cards.
And you're
Yes,
on
it's
there.
playing cards. Yes,
What
I'm on
card are
turn.
you?
I'm the 9 of spades, I believe. I'd have to have a look. It's on that picture that you're looking at. So you
I
could
oh yeah, okay. Oh, so I'm looking at that is you. You're the nine of clubs.
9 of clubs.
The
On
nine
my
of clubs, I think, and
it
you
should be
have
like
your
a
fire
green.
fingers
There you go.
just with you. Is that's a
I have
cool
fire
looking.
fans, and it's like a
the f-
green card, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, that's hot as
Yeah,
hell.
yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
So they had the burlesque deck, which was very classic and vintage, and then last year they released the neo burlesque deck, and it's all kind of and Boobzilla's in that deck as well. There's like a bunch of people in that deck.
Fun,
Um,
fun, fun. There's a Vixen's Unleashed book.
that book was released when I took my show on tour so that I could sell it to raise money for sponsorships, scholarships for people who needed the training but couldn't afford it. So there's a whole page on there about how burlesque is helpful for people who are getting over
Oh, so this
depression.
is your book. This is literally your book.
Well, it's not
I,
my book. So it's my book, but I just not I didn't write it.
you published it, and it says 12 inspirational and moving stories
There
from
you go.
students of Vixen
It's an
DeVille,
anthology.
documenting
There
their
you go.
journeys, battles, breakthroughs, and triumphs, and the positive impact that burlesque training made on their lives. So, like, all right, that's pretty cool. So, like, out of nowhere, as I'm learning more, I'm like, oh, and also you published a book. No big deal.
Oh, and she did that as well.
Yeah, you sell various pasties. You sell, which I thought was really interesting. You sell a burlesque beginner gift set, but you also sell bustles and skirts.
That's what I start yeah, that was what I
And
started
you
doing. I
make
don't do
those?
them yeah, I do. I still have a few, like, hanging around, and I have the fabric to make them if they come in, but I don't promote them as much because they take a lot what this is the thing, as I progress through, like, my career, I was making those bustles for myself, so it didn't take much time to then just make another one in another piece of fabric or make a couple, and then I would go on tour, and then I'd have them to sell at my show. But the amount of time it would take me to make one is not worth my time. Like, the amount of money I'd have to charge for, like, the amount of time it takes me to do that, I'd rather be doing something else. Like I've started making feather fans now, and they're not on the website yet, but
How long does
I'm
that take to
going
make one of
away from
those?
them because I've found other interests. Like the fire pasties are more exciting for me to make, and like the feather fans are more
Seems like
sort
a
of
fire
filling.
pasty is gonna be a lot easier to make than a skirt or a bustle too, right? Like, it would be like
Um,
time as far as time goes, right? You could be like, "I could be done with each one of these in an
kind
hour."
of. I can batch them a bit more. Each
Yeah.
section of the process, I can do a number in each go, and they're more intricate, and it's more of a project to do, whereas the bustle skirts, they're not as interesting anymore. They feel more like a chore. It's like during pandemic, I was sewing masks for people, and it was super fun to start with. It's like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I'm making this thing, and it's really fulfilling. And then I got a bunch of orders, and I was like, oh, same old thing over and over and over, and I don't
Can't
want to have
believe
to
I have
do
to
this
keep doing
anymore.
this.
I can't make any more masks. I don't want to do it. So yeah, and that's what's really great is that because it's my company, my business, if I don't ever want to make those bustle skirts again, I don't have to. Like, because it's just they're discontinued, and now they're a one of a kind, and now your item that you bought is more expensive or more valuable because you'll never get you can never get another one.
So, this episode drops Tuesday, January 9th for Patreon and Tuesday, January 16th for the freeloaders. So, as I'm 'cause obviously I can't keep you here. I could keep you here for 2 hours, but we have lives and we have to keep moving as much as I would enjoy to do that. So, let's do like sort of like a little bit of like what should people be on the lookout for both in and outside of LA? So like to a person that's in LA, we know that you have the show on February 15th, Vixen DeVille Revealed. Really great show. Again, super vouch. So we have that. And how do people find that?
So the solo show is at vdvr.eventbrite.com. I will be posting. There's a link on my Instagram. So if you don't remember it, go to Instagram, click on the links on Instagram.
And
Uh,
surprise, it's Vixen DeVille at Vixen DeVille on Instagram.
yeah. And then if they're outside of LA, I do have online stuff going on. I have my year-long program if you're interested in doing burlesque. And if you want to do fire and aerial and that fun stuff, I have my twice a year retreat out in the desert. We were talking about the desert.
There it is.
Um,
I've been like trying to get you to
Get
talk
that
about the
in, yes.
desert.
So it's called Fire and Flight. I partner up with Amanda Ritchie of Grounded in Flight. She used to work for Cirque du Soleil, and she never says it because she's super humble, but she does. And so for 3 days, you can come fly out here and spend 3 days in the desert learning to eat fire, breathe fire, play with fire, set yourself on fire, be in a bath of fire, do aerial hoop, aerial spiral, aerial hammock, aerial silks. We do all these different photo shoot opportunities. I have fire wings you can have fire, and then we do a performance at the end if you want to perform fire and get video footage of you performing. And if you just want to hang out in the desert and meditate and watch other people set
Take
themselves
mushrooms and watch people be on fire.
and then there's that opportunity. There's only 18 people. It's a very small, like it's an intricate, like intimate group of people, and it always attracts like the best people. Jillian did that as well. So yeah,
Oh,
Jillian
Jillian
got
Cobles.
there.
Yeah, great.
And actually, March has been sold out since last September, and 10 of those people are returning for a second and or third time.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
tickets are on sale for September. 6 or 7 of those tickets have already gone. So yeah,
Where can we find those? Because like here's the thing is that seems like a hot ticket, pardon the pun, but like that seems like something that people would really want to get to.
yeah. So that's fireandflight.com.
Okay. That's easy enough.
Fireandflight.com.
Fireandflight.com.
Yep.
That sounds fun. So what else we got?
What else we got? Oh my gosh. So I have a
That's the thing.
comment.
Like
I don't
I
know.
don't know all the things you're doing because you're doing so many things.
I feel like do I give just those options? But my year long program has 3 intensives as part of it, so I'll be running those intensives over this year. And the next one that's coming up, which is open to other people who are not on my year long program, is concept to creation, which is February. It's the week before my solo show. So if you're
Mhm.
not in LA, come to LA on the 7th of February. Do my concept to creation 8th, 9th, and 10th of February, and then stay in town, watch my solo show on the 15th, and then fly home. And that to me is how you should spend your mid-February. If you're not bothered about Valentine's Day, run away from your hometown and all of your exes, come to LA and spend time with me instead.
Is that daytime, nighttime, or both?
Gonna
That three
be
day.
the 3 day, it's gonna be 10 a.m. to 6:30, and it's all about the concept of your act. And so my whole year-long program is about breaking burlesque down to the 3 pillars, which is, first of all, the skill that you do, the thing you're doing on stage, be good at it. whether that's dancing or feather fans or chair dance or floor work or comedy or magic or hosting or acting. There's a skill you're doing on stage, because burlesque doesn't have to be that I'm an amazing dancer and I've got a really good high kick and split. Like you could be the magic comedy hosty person. So the skill has to be good. The second thing is that you have to have your confidence in your charisma and your persona and your connection with the audience. Just because you're good at doing a skill doesn't mean you're good at performing that skill in front of an audience. So I could have two equally good fire eaters, but if one person is really great at connecting with the audience or has this confidence on stage, I'm going to watch them instead of the other person.
Mhm.
And then the third pillar is your concept. So the storyline, your costuming, your makeup, your prop design, the editing your music. Because if if I'm eating fire and I'm confidently eating fire on stage, I can then take it up and be like, oh, I'm confidently eating fire on stage as Maleficent, the fire-breathing dragon, and I turn from the dragon into Maleficent.
You've done a
Now
photo shoot of that.
I've done, yeah, oh yeah, I've done a photo
I've
shoot of
seen because I've seen
Maleficent
that
fire.
where like that it's like a very demonic looking photo shoot. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
So it's because a lot of people don't really give that much thought to the concept of their act. It's just, oh, I'm pretty and
Skill
I
set
walk on
more than the
stage.
concept. Yeah.
Right. So, and it's not that difficult. So if you're a really good skilled performer and you're a really good skilled, you have a really high skill, then just give a bit more thought to the costume that you're wearing, or the beats that you put into your act to make them feed to the audience in a effective timing. Then you're flying. Your act is just elevated. So that 3 days is focused
And the
on
comedy aspect of it too, right?
the
Like
comedy
that's
aspect of
insane.
it, exactly. Like double punch, how you deliver a punchline, how you hold anticipation so that they want you to do the thing, so you get more of an applause. Like teaching the audience when to applaud and when to not applaud. So story arc, acting, devised theater, costume, makeup, props, editing, music,
And that's
lighting.
a
Yeah.
3-day intensive, February 8th, 9th, and 10th. It's a Thursday to a Saturday. If
Mhm.
you are in town for this intensive, you can finish up at 6:30, head on over to Burbank, and you can get to Mint on Card, which will
There
be
you go.
February 9th. So that's what
Done.
we like to call brand synergy. So many things you have going on. Excuse me. I had to clear my throat. So what I would suggest everybody do, first off, follow Cat at Vixen DeVille on Instagram, VixenDeville, or same spelling.com, vixendeville.com. Head on over to that, learn all the stuff right there, find out where she was performing in October. You have,
Update it by then.
you have, spoiler alert, we're recording this the day before release. So you have about 13 hours to do that.
Okay.
You have
Okay.
13 hours to update your calendar. Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. I'll get
Folks,
on her
I need to
website
hear in the comments. I want to hear in the comments whether or not she did that. I'm not going to check. I need you to tell me in the comments, which means you checked out her website. You followed her on Instagram. You are pound for pound one of the most talented people I've ever met. It's infuriating. That's not a compliment. You. You for being funnier than me when I was the person that was quote hired, not paid to be funny there.
I'm just inspiring you to be better, Jeff May. You
That
just get
is
better.
That
Just
is it.
be
Yeah,
more like
there's
Vixen.
I will say this. The day we met and you brought me up and you were so funny and everything. I was like, "Oh God." I was like, she's good. She's good." And then you finished with a striptease of you walking on broken glass to the song Walking on Broken Glass. And I was like, okay, also this is like a weirdly sexy thing that I was not aware I thought was going to be sexy until I saw it happen. Like I wouldn't, if somebody was like walking, so this girl's gonna walk on a bunch of broken glass bottles, I'd be like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And then when I was watching it,
Nobody
I was
wants to
like,
see
this
that.
is the only thing I ever want to see again. Like it was so fascinating, so cool. And you can learn how to do that with Vixen. Surprise.
Right.
Anything else we want to promote?
Just love around the world. I'd like to promote that. No, just
No.
being like,
Maybe you
yeah,
are the hippie that you didn't think you were, huh?
I am. I am. I'm just gonna promote the fact I do all these things, and I'm very, like, I don't want to say lucky, but I've always had this, like, I want to be able, I don't ever want to be told that I can't do anything, like that whole like challenge accepted thing.
Mhm.
And I really do all these things to promote the idea of, like, go do the weird thing, go do the fun thing, go do the thing everyone else told you was a stupid idea and you shouldn't be doing it. And if your heart is like, I really want to do the thing, like just go and do it, because life is too short. and everyone else sucks, and they probably won't be in your life in 5 years' time anyway, so why does it even matter?
Don't let the
Um,
naysayers say your nay, huh?
yeah, exactly.
So again, and I cannot stress enough, everybody, go follow Vixen, check out her website because she's got such really cool stuff. And one of those things where I'm actually like, actually do go to the website. I know people don't really go to websites that much anymore. It's all social media, but definitely check the website out. As far as I'm concerned, if you're listening to this for free, thank you so much. I really appreciate your
Right.
ears and your attention. If you are listening to this on patreon.com/Jeff May, I like you more than those last people I was lying to just then. Just kidding. Head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May and sign up, and you can get early access to uncensored episodes with bonus content, which we'll talk about after this. Head on over there. You can also do stuff like watch I Must Break You on my YouTube. My social media is at Hey There Jeffro, HeyThereJeffro. You can watch me open stuff. And if you sign up for the rookie card or the two-face tier, you'll get some of that stuff in the mail. How exciting is that? You can also check me out at Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on Gamefully Unemployed. And of course, all the stuff I do on You Don't Even Like This Network with Adam Todd Brown, including You Don't Even Like This Show and You Don't Even Like Sports, as well as You Don't Even Like Sports Cards. Mint on Cards, the second Friday of every month, a blast from the past in beautiful Magnolia in Burbank, California. If you're on Patreon, I get to tell you that our next show is this week, Friday, the 12th. It is our 8th anniversary show, and we have a stacked lineup of comedians that we've had. If you're listening to this for free, February 9th, right after you take the second day of Vixen DeVille's burlesque intensive, you can head on over on February 9th to see the amazing lineup that we have there at Blast from the Past on beautiful Magnolia in Burbank. That was a whole lot of information. Hey, say goodbye to the freeloaders.
Oh my God, goodbye, freeloaders.
Goodbye,
Thank you
freeloaders.
for
We love you
getting
so
what you
much.
can.
Thank you so much. Patrons, we'll see you in about 5 seconds. Bye. Hey everyone, our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababan, and boy, does that shred. Thank you all so much for listening. See you next time.